Hi everyone and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a full flip through of every page I filled out in this commonplace book so far, which I'm very excited about. It's also going to serve as kind of a Q3 flip through because so far the only months I've spent in here have been July, August, September, which just happens to be Q3. That worked out very nicely. A lot of these pages you've probably seen snippets of before in previous videos where I've kind of shown my commonplace book, but I've never shown every single page in detail, which is what I'm going to do today. We will start at the beginning, as makes sense, with my two kind of opening pages. The first page, or I guess, well, it's more of an inside cover, but this page here has one of Megan Rhiannon's gloomies on it, specifically one relating to notebooks and keeping a notebook. I really resonated with this particular gloomy. I won't read the whole thing out loud, but you can see the general vibe of it is finding solace in your notebooks and spending time in notebooks being a really enriching practice, which it is for me. So I thought, let's stick this at the beginning as a reminder of why I'm doing this. As for this second page here, it's just a reminder of the true meaning of the universe, cats, and the patriarchy being stupid. What more can I say? Truly, this just sums up everything you need to know about life. I also just love the cat illustration. It's a very cute cat. I would really like a black cat at some point in my life. In fact, no, I lie. I would like two black cats, brothers, called Nandor and Laszlo. I think that would be the coolest thing. Yes, that is a What We Do in the Shadows reference. If anybody else watches that, please let me know in the comments because I'm obsessed with that show. Anyway, let's move back to the book and not my cat aspirations for the future. Here we have, one of my favourite illustrations of all time that I stuck in here. I think I stuck this in because it was just after the solstice when I started this, so it might have been like late June rather than July when I started. Anyway, I love the solstice, and Stonehenge down in Wiltshire, if anybody doesn't know, is very deeply connected to the solstice. It's suspected to have been some kind of ritual site because there's a particular part where at the solstice the sun shines through and it looks really pretty. Anyway, I decided to honour the solstice by sticking in this manuscript page from the 1500s. He visited Stonehenge and drew it as it was then, and it's different now. Some of the stones have fallen over, some of them have been encased in concrete in an attempt to keep them standing, which doesn't look the best, but I understand the sentiment. Anyway, I think this is beautiful, and I just love the handwriting as well. I'm not gonna lie, I can't read that, which is bad because I actually took a course in my master's on paleography, which is transcribing old handwriting. But it's been a while, so I could not tell you what that says, but I think it looks nice anyway. So yeah, started off with Stonehenge. Then, for the next few pages actually, you might notice it's kind of like a page from another book stuck into this book. What happened here was, for reasons I'll go into in another video, I decided to get rid of an old commonplace book, and at the same time I didn't want to lose certain pages out of it, so I cut those pages out and stuck them in my new book, which, yeah, I'm quite pleased I did, because while this particular entry I don't actually care that much about anymore, for reasons I'll explain, the others I do care about. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. This page was a system update I did where back in late June I changed books. I decided to move into a Hobonichi weeks. If you've seen my previous videos, you'll know that didn't last. I didn't like the weeks very much. Not because of anything to do with the book itself, really. It's really small and I have big handwriting. It didn't work. Anyway, I'd written just a page about my plans, which are now completely outdated because I have a different system. It's really been a year of changing books for me. Anyway, let's move on from this now irrelevant page to these. These are two of my favourite pages of all time because I think they just mesh really well. They're two book, not really reviews, book pages, let's call them. The Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden, which is actually the second in a trilogy, the first being The Bear and the Nightingale. Really, really great series in my opinion. They're kind of fantasy meets historical fiction folklore stuff. I just love it. And then Legends and Lattes, which I read because everyone was going on about it on Bookstagram, and I was like, okay, I gotta get in on the hype, and I'm glad I did because it was super cozy. Like, don't read it if you're expecting or wanting something with a lot of action, because it doesn't really have that, but it does have excellent descriptions of baked goods. So definitely a reason to read it alone. Next page was actually another book review that I moved over from the old book of Cecily by Annie Garthwaite, which, I could go on for a whole video about how much I loved that book. The book is about Cecily of York, who was the mother of 2 kings of England and a descendant of another king of England. And she was kind of a major player in the Wars of the Roses, which is one of my favourite periods of history. It's what I wrote my master's thesis on, specifically on the women of the Wars of the Roses, although I didn't mention Cecily, which I do regret now, because she's really cool. This, incredibly, was a debut novel, but it was probably one of the best historical novels I've ever read. And I've read a lot of historical novels, so read this book. I believe there is a sequel coming out next year. Now is the perfect time to read it. It's great. And Cecily is just a badass. She's also a questionable human being on many occasions, but that makes her a rounded character, you know? Women are allowed to make bad choices too. So yeah, read that book. Next page. It's my girl Taylor Swift. This was when Speak Now Taylor's version came out. Music is a huge part of my life. I love it. I listen to music almost all the time, and Taylor Swift's music is a particularly big part of my life. I've been a Swiftie for 15 years. How long ago was 2008? That was 15 years ago, wasn't it? Oh my god. Oh no. Yeah, anyway, before I have an existential crisis, let's move on back to Taylor. I love her music. Speak Now was a really special album for me, the original one. It got me through the ages like 15 to 17, and I just love it. So when Taylor's version came out, it was like Christmas. It's going to be the same when 1989 Taylor's version comes out. Every release is like Christmas for me. So I decided to do like a big write-up of my thoughts on the album. Obviously the first, how many tracks? 16? Well, ones we'd heard before. They're just re-recordings of her old songs. But I still had a lot to say about them, apparently. I wrote what I thought about each re-recorded original, and then the vault, the new songs. The vault tracks on this were probably some of my favourites, tied with Red, Taylor's version, because she got Fall Out Boy and Hayley Williams to sing on these vault tracks. My pop punk teenage self would have sobbed if there had ever been like a Taylor Swift Paramore or Taylor Swift Fall Out Boy collaboration. I'm so glad we finally got that, because those 2 songs, brilliant. But yeah, big old spread about Speak Now Taylor's version, obviously kept with the purple theme throughout, because, you know, look at that cover. Anyway, we have other spreads. Let's move on. This, again, I really like this because the colours mesh so well. This, on the left-hand page, is the English Heritage Map of the Northeast. For anyone not in England, English Heritage is, I think, a charity or like some kind of non-governmental organisation that looks after historic sites. And this is just a map of all of the historic sites in the area where I live. So yeah, I figured good to keep this, nice point of reference. This is just a quotes page, basically. A ton of quotes that I found on Tumblr that resonated with me. I'm trying to see if there's any particularly meaningful quotes here. I mean, to be fair, everything's meaningful because I wouldn't have saved it if it wasn't. Anything particularly special? Well, yeah, I mean, this one about cheese. Cheese does not abandon me. No matter what I'm going through in life, there is cheese. What more can I say? This is, again, one of my favourite spreads in here. I love it because of just like the dark vibes. I've got some more quotes. And then I did like a little divider with this Moon Phases sticker. And then we've got some song lyrics from Dance Fever by Florence and the Machine, an excellent album. This is more music-related stuff. I realised, actually after seeing a Reddit post about it, that the song Mirror Ball by Taylor Swift is actually really relevant to autistic masking. Like, I don't think she wrote it about that, but there are parallels there. And then I stuck some Roman emperors here. I don't really know why I did that. They look cool, they match the vibe, but they have nothing to do with anything here. So, Trajan and Claudius, just hanging out. This is just a journal page, like a long-form journal about my life. I won't go into too much detail about these types of pages because they're just me ranting about my IBS or whatever, but I do like the decor on this one. I stuck in this screenshot from Animal Crossing New Leaf because at this time I was still kind of adjusting to the fact that I had burnout and I needed to rest more. So I stuck in this reminder of Bob, absolute icon, saying that chilling is important and it's the most important thing in the world. And this is true. Bob is one of my favourite villagers, I've got to say. I don't have him in my current island, but I do love him. Ooh, more journaling, but also I decided to stick in the screenshot of me getting Eras Tour tickets because I couldn't actually believe that I did it. Like, I defeated Ticketmaster, I vanquished the foe, and got Taylor Swift tickets. Onto this page, which is another medieval manuscript. Can you tell I'm a medievalist at heart? This one is a decorative page about the month of July. So we were in July at this point, and I thought, you know, it's relevant and it's pretty, so we'll stick it in. After that, I once again started writing about Taylor Swift lyrics. I'm nothing if not predictable. Here we have more book pages. Cecily has appeared again because the previous time I actually forgot to write the quotes that I'd saved from the book. I did that here. And here we have Galatea by Madeline Miller. I will read her shopping list. Like, honestly, Madeline Miller, so good. Here we have an A5 print from Megan Rhiannon about rest not being a reward and rest being important. Again, this was really important to me at this time when I was really trying to convince myself to rest. So I bought this print, which you can find on her online shop, and I stuck it in here as a constant reminder to rest. Then here I put in another mini book review. I didn't actually finish this book. I found it a bit hard to get through, but I really liked the cover, so I wanted to include it. After that, I wrote in more quotes that I found on Tumblr, although one of them is from Sense and Sensibility, my favourite book of all time, and not just because I share a name with one of the heroines. It's genuinely such just a fun and witty and incisive book. Here we just have some more journaling. I was clearly feeling the forest vibes that day. I have like a whole packet of stickers that are just pictures of forests. It's great. I think I got it from Folk Paper on Etsy. So if you like forests, go look for that. Here, I think that's just a couple of extra quotes. In fact, yeah, I think I started the quotes at the bottom of this page, and then, I was so annoyed, this one, at the very end, literally there were like 5 words that didn't fit on the previous page, and that really annoyed me. But we made it work with more quotes here, and then just another journal entry from this time. Here we have another review of an amazing collection of short stories and poems by the Writers Library on Instagram. She is amazing. This book was amazing. It was also like a Greek mythology thing, similar to Galatea, and I've read a lot of those types of books. I mean, they're everywhere right now, right? But Tales of Thread was really different. Like, everything had a twist that I wasn't expecting, but which still felt in keeping with the original myths, so would recommend. After that, I just wrote some random ideas for improving my schedule, because I think at this time I was struggling with having a schedule, as you do when you're chronically fatigued. I kind of wrote some ideas for how to improve my schedule and actually have one. This was a kind of catch-up journal session because I had a really busy week. I also stuck in a tag from a birthday present I got from my friend Courtney. She bought me a beautiful copy of Sense and Sensibility, which, as I just mentioned, is my favourite book. She knows me well. Here we have more journal stuff. Here, the special interests page, which I mentioned in a previous video, but in case you didn't see that, this is just a page where I wrote down all of my autistic special interests and ways to kind of engage with them, because it's very important to my mental health to do something special interest related every single day. I notice if I don't. Like, my mood immediately dips if I don't. So yeah, I just wrote down some ways I can engage in them. Reading books, playing games, going for walks in the woods, cuddling the cat, because of course she's a special interest. Everybody should have a cat as their special interest, because cats are great. Anyway, ACOTAR. What can I say? Oh, this year was the year when I finally gave in to peer pressure and started reading this series. I went in with 0 expectations because I feel like people either think it's incredible or think it's absolute garbage. And I was like, well, I don't know which one I'm gonna fit into, so had zero expectations. Ended up thinking, like, it's alright, the first book. It's not garbage, I don't think, but it's also not a masterpiece. That said, it's worth reading just so you can then read the second book, which I'll get to later, but the second book, so good. Here was when I did more planning for 2024, and I'd decided at this point that the weeks wasn't working for me because I was in the Hobonichi weeks at this point, and that I wanted to get a cousin. So yeah, I was just writing about that, my plans for each type of spread, which have changed since then, as is often the way. But yeah, I was excited. I was going to get myself a cousin avec, which I did. And on this page, I kind of did a mock-up of what I wanted the daily pages to look like. The daily pages did end up looking pretty much exactly like this. So I made a plan and I stuck to it, which for me is not a given. So yeah, this was an exciting time. And I've got to say, I absolutely do not regret getting a cousin again. I wish that my first one hadn't been destroyed in a tea-related accident, because I think it would have been really cool to just have one for the whole year, which is the plan next year. But yeah, I love that book. Oh, Barbie movie time. Yes, loved this film. I really did not expect it to be what it was. Like, I just saw, oh, they're making another movie out of a toy brand. This is just capitalism run rampant, blah, blah, blah. But it did also have some very important societal messages in it. Admittedly, it's very white feminism and like heteronormative feminism. Anyway, more quotes from Tumblr here. I was really going through a Tumblr phase at this point, apparently. Wuthering Heights made an appearance, another excellent classic novel that I love. Here we've got burnout avoidance tips, which I found on Tumblr and copied out because, yeah, burnout is a real problem for me. Autistic burnout specifically. And I'm trying to get to a point in my life where I can prevent it rather than just having to endure it. So that's what this is about. More Tumblr quotes yet again. I really like this sticker, by the way. The moon with an E. Those medieval vibes. What else? Oh, here we get a bit of variety, not just quotes and quotes and quotes. I assembled some furniture at this point, a new sideboard, because my fiance for our anniversary had bought me a CD player because I've collected CDs for ages but couldn't play them. So he fixed that for me. Thank you, Anthony. And yeah, I was really happy with how this turned out because I got some new art for the walls as well, which had my favourite album covers on it. I've got Folklore, Melodrama, and Evermore. Here, I kind of had a bit of a musing about my routine. I'd started like a new morning routine that was really structured and it was working really well. I had a few ideas for like minor changes to make, particularly in the evenings, and this has continued to be a struggle actually, I wasn't making much time for reading, and I still want to improve that because I love reading, but I seem to just do other things instead. Beyond that, we have some notes from a YouTube video about monotasking instead of multitasking. I'm definitely guilty of just multitasking at all times. Like, I won't just sit and watch a YouTube video. I'll watch a YouTube video while writing something, or scrolling, or doing something else. I want to try monotasking a bit more, because I think you engage with whatever you're doing much more deeply, obviously, when you're monotasking. I don't like the idea that society seems to have pushed that we all have to be doing like so many things all at once, all the time. Like, I'd like to strip that back and just be like, no, I'm going to do one thing, followed by another one thing, with plenty of rest in between. Moving on to this page, we have Midnights. I've been going through a bit of a Midnights renaissance recently. I think now I'm obsessed with it because it's coming up to like a year since it came out, and my brain has like made that connection of like, this time of year is Midnights time. But I also just love it. I think it's a great album from start to finish. Maroon is just, I listen to that song on repeat like every day. Something about what's the word I'm looking for? The production, that's it. It scratches an itch in my brain. I love it. And also maroon's my favourite colour, so possibly that has something to do with it too. Here I screenshotted some of Coco Holmes' videos because I just discovered her channel at this point. It's really, really great. Would recommend. It's just really chill, quiet vlogs about peaceful times, and it's a happy place for me watching these vlogs, so I recorded it in my commonplace. Here we have a little photo of my journal system of the cousin avec and this book. I was loving it, as I wrote like a whole page about how much I was loving it. I love Hobonichi books, what can I say? And I love A5 books. This is just the perfect system for me. Saying that, I'm not actually in a 2-book system anymore, which I'll get into at the end of this video. We've added another book into the mix. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. This was when 1989 Taylor's version was announced. Amazing album that is probably going to become even more amazing with the vault tracks. The fact that we are going to get a Taylor Swift song called Slut. Did not have that on my bingo card for this year, but I'm here for it. I decided to kind of letter some of my favourite lyrics from that album. Clean is just a very special song to me, so yeah, looking forward to Clean Taylor's version. I will probably cry. Here we just have more journaling featuring a Gloomy from Megan Rhiannon and this cat with a book sticker from Bartista shop on Etsy. More Tumblr posts. You can see Tumblr, I owe a lot to Tumblr, is all I'll say there. But I actually printed out some tweets or zeets or whatever the hell Elon wants them to be called, and also a Tumblr post, and then wrote out some more quotes that resonated with me. A lot of the things that resonate with me are basically me strictly telling myself, like, stop doing this silly thing because it's not good for you. Yeah, like, stop looking backward. Oy. Anyway, before I give you an insight into too much of my brain, let's move on. These were 2 photos from the same day when we had like a little family trip to Knaresborough in Yorkshire, which was lovely. It has a castle, a ruin, I suppose, and it's free to just look around. So I really liked that photo I took of it. I think it's quite atmospheric and gloomy. And then I liked that photo of myself, and that's very rare that I like a photo of myself. So I was like, I gotta document this. This is not a frequent occurrence, but I really love that outfit. That's like my favourite shirt. Here we have some notes from YouTube videos that resonated with me. One from the Cottage Fairy about, what was this about? I think it's about accepting what has happened to you in the past and moving on from it without regrets. And then this was a Coco Home video about being a YouTuber. That was kind of like the final push for me to actually do my channel, was watching this. And I think one of the tips she gave was like, just start, like, just do it. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I will just do it. So I did, and here I am. Here is a journal page. It was a while between journal entries because the end of August I was quite sick. Didn't write in the book for a while, but then got back into it. Here I was musing on my habits because I wanted to incorporate better habits into my life. And this was just before I got sick. I was like, I'm going to sort my life out. I'm going to exercise more because I feel really weak right now. I'm going to, do cleaning every single day. I'm going to do a lot of research on autism. And I kind of realized that I was putting too much pressure on myself, basically. I was trying to force myself to do too many habits all at once. So this was me writing about that and being like, I can't do that because I'm disabled and chronically ill. I have to be very careful with how I spend my time. So this was me coming to terms with the fact that I'm probably never going to be able to do all of the things that I want to do, and that's okay. It's annoying sometimes, but it's also okay. It does not make me a bad person or a lazy person. It just makes me a person. That was an important realization for me to come to. We also have some self-soothing tips at the bottom here from Colour Me Happy on Instagram, I believe. Just things to do when, you're feeling a bit overstimulated. Oh, here we get to A Court of Mist and Fury, as mentioned. Amazing book. Yeah. You can read my full review of it on Goodreads if you want to know why it's an amazing book, because I'm not going to go into it, because if I do, I will not stop and we'll be here for like 3 hours. So just know I loved this book and I can't wait to read the rest in the series. After that, we just got some journaling here. A lot of journaling, actually, with a beautiful picture of my beautiful cat. This was the page that I was producing in my journal and chat video, the last video I posted. I ended up writing quite a few quotes here, and I went with like an autumnal spread vibe. Here, I had a really small piece of space left after the quotes, which with hindsight, I should have just written more quotes and filled the page, but I didn't. So I wrote a little journal entry here about how happy I am. I did this last night, actually, because I'm just feeling very content with my life right now, I love my partner, my friends, my family, my cat, my job, my co-workers, my hobbies, I'm just feeling content. And here we have the last page I have right now, which is about the National because I went to see them live. If you're not aware, they're a band, an American band. They're kind of like, well, they call themselves sad dads because they kind of are like middle-aged men singing about being sad. And I'm here for that. I love it. It was an amazing show as well. In a sense, it really put me to shame because the lead singer is like 52 years old and has more energy than I've ever had in my entire life. And I was like, oh God, this is a humbling experience, but it was great. They really know how to put on a show. Matt, the lead singer, was like climbing into the crowd on multiple occasions. They played a lot of their older songs as well as their new albums. I say albums because they've released 2 this year. Like, what did we do to deserve that? Incredible. But yeah, it was a great time. I wish I could relive it all again because they sang for like 2.5 hours as well. It was just the best. It was, yeah, my first concert since the pandemic, actually, and it was amazing. All right, that's everything in here so far. To close this video out, I thought I might talk a little bit about plans for the rest of the year in here, because I'm going to make a couple of small changes. One is that I'm not going to write about books in here anymore. As I kind of alluded to earlier, I have added a new journal into the mix. I'll grab it. Hang on, where is it? I have a reading journal now. It's empty at the moment. I'm going to backfill it with some of my favourite books of 2023 so far. And then my plan is to do reviews and stuff in it, but also just to use it to take notes while I'm reading a book about how I feel about it, because otherwise, like, I come to write the review and I've kind of forgotten about, like, basically everything that's happened. So I'm going to take notes as I go and then use this as just like a dedicated reading journal, which I'm really excited for. The notebook itself is a Leuchtturm 1917 dot grid. I've been using these for years in different capacities. I love them so much. They are just so satisfying. I love the dot grid, I love the paper, and I love this maroon colour. As mentioned, it's my favourite colour. I just love these so much. So yeah, I'm gonna backfill this a little bit, as I say, and then once I've actually started using it, I'll do a bit of a flip through of this as well. But yeah, that's one change to the Commonplace book. Now, as for the second change I want to make in this book, this is a change I actually said I was going to do last month and then just never did. Oops. But basically, I want to get back into long form journaling in here a lot more often than I have been. Because you'll see, like, there are flurries where I journal a lot, and then there's like a 3-week gap where I don't journal at all, and then I start again. I would like to be a bit more consistent with that because it really does help my mental health to just let it all out in written format, you know? Anyway, I have rambled on for quite long enough at this point. Thank you so much if you've made it to the end of this video. Next time around, I'm going to do the same type of video except in my Hobonichi Cousin avec, so showing everything I did in there in Q3. Until then, I hope you all have a great week. Thank you so much for all your support as always. Hope you're all doing well.